the Harvey Wallbanger. It's a cocktail, now that I have your attention. Sort of an orange juicy screwdriver variant, late 60s invention. By 1982, it was popular enough that when the Milwaukee Brewers general manager was looking for sort of a punchy new nickname to refer to his hard-hitting lineup of players managed by Harvey Keene, that one of those players, Cecil Cooper, said, how about Harvey's Wallbangers? Because we keep on, banging them out to the wall in the outfield. It's a much more Wisconsin, sort of Midwest-friendly way to refer to a powerful hitting lineup than, say, the 1920s New York Yankees, who were the Murderers' Row. Ugh. This is all inside baseball, but what I'm trying to get at is how potent at this point the lineup is of cheftestants in Top Chef. There is not a lot of room between the winners and the losers, and it really is, at this point, anybody's game. Hello, my name is Kyle Nabilsi. I am a restaurant and food writer here in Madison, Wisconsin, and I am thrilled, if also a little late, to once again present to you, we'll say last week, in Top Chef Wisconsin. We are back in the kitchen again, and we're with a Voltaggio. If you are a longtime Top Chef watcher, it's the less annoying Voltaggio brother, Brian. And the quickfire is brought to us thanks to some SponCon bucks from the fine folks at Finish Dishwasher Tabs. This happens. It's Top Chef. They got to get the money for these prizes somewhere, and the prize money does go up for this one quite a bit. But a flambe challenge is what we're doing, and that means setting stuff on fire, and that means alcohol, because you got to start that fire somehow. Laura, taking a big swig out of one of the bottles in the kitchen. I hope she used that bottle. She's in her villain era at this point, especially with alcohol. But okay, fine. Cooking with alcohol, and specifically letting alcohol burn in a dish, I think allows you to knit some more discordant flavors together than what you might otherwise. So you see stuff like a fish sauce caramel from Sue, a kimchi donut from Kalina. I do feel like those two kind of rubbed off on each other just a little bit in their brief time together in the Last Chance Kitchen. I've never heard of a baked Hawaiian, I have to admit. Amanda does that. I've heard of baked Alaska, but baked Hawaiian is a different state altogether. Okay. Regardless, you get some cool combinations. The tops of this one are Danny, who cooked with mezcal, who burned with mezcal, as it were. Amanda and her baked Hawaiian, and Kevin, who manages to reverse some trends and do an interesting textural element with his dish. But surprise, surprise, this is, according to Kristen, the ultimate quickfire, which I thought was going to mean now they have to go and do the dishes because it's a Finnish-sponsored thing. But no, unfortunately, it just meant that they had to cook another dish. Those top three had to cook again. This time, char. Don't just burn, but char. Okay, that's an interesting elaboration on the initial challenge. Also, double the prize money. So I believe that means $20,000 to the winner. That's a good payday. You see some cool poultry deconstruction from Kevin, taking apart a squab. Danny actually has to fully deconstruct his branzino. It's got fins and all, scales. He's got to take everything apart. Ultimately, Danny wins this one with some cool, crispy fish skin, and it looked really nice. And that payday is perfect for going into baseball, where everyone's got big paydays. We're at AmFam Field for this one. American Family Field, Milwaukee Brewers home stadium. It will always be Miller Park in my hearts, you monsters. It's AmFam Field now. It's a thing. Don't get me started. This one I'm actually emotional on. Rossica, I wasn't actually emotional. Here, I'm emotional. Miller Park. The Brewers. Come on. Okay, I'm going to stop. The racing sausages. If you're unfamiliar with the racing sausages, they make their way through the doorway. Kristen has a great line. It says Tom's in one of them. You have to guess. Just a great line. Very understated. They don't hang a lampshade on it. It was a very funny piece of comedy. So we're going to be cooking sausage. It's not a ballpark food challenge. Important to note. Just a sausage challenge, and a little bit dark. These sausages, they race, and you're going to have to cook them in the order in which they finish. It's very Hunger Games. And this is a great time, by the way, for the It's Not Just You segment. It is not just you. There did seem to be an interesting slip where Kristen acknowledged that it was going to be a 3-2 finish. The puns. It could have been 4-1 by the time the episode was over. It could have been 5-0, but she said, no, it's going to be 3-2. And she seemed pretty sure on that math. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, the chefs will have to cook a sausage, make a sausage dish for this elimination challenge. There's a very pointed moment between Danny and Laura about budgeting. In a previous season of Top Chef, I feel like this would have just been muttered to the confessional camera, but they kind of more or less deal with it face to face, which is good. Professional, adult. I liked Amanda's line about sausage of color. That was funny. Talking about chorizo, SOC, that was good. A lot of rug pulls with the start times. The quickfire start, the elimination start, it was all like, and go. I feel like a lot of this week was very finale testing. Like, I don't know if the chefs, or the judges rather, are not sure about these chefs being able to actually earn the win at the end of this season. And so they're throwing a lot of stuff at them that seems to be very, you could see this again in the finale sort of energy. And if you can't handle it now, you're not going to be able to handle it when everything's on the line. So a lot of abrupt starts. And ultimately, we have some pretty interesting dishes, I have to say. Some folks do things that are, handmade. Laura actually makes her own chorizo, which is interesting. There are a couple of pasta preparations, a gnocchi, a spätzle. These are all things that I feel like are high risk, especially when you're cooking in two locations, because they're in the kitchen and then they're prepping on the field at the ballpark. For a fairly large crowd of judges. So not just randos, but people who ostensibly should know what they're talking about when you serve them food. Michelle was a college softball player. Another thing that she has in her pocket that she can just sort of pull out, like she is a jack of all trades. She's got the Swiss Army knife mentality. She can do a little bit of everything. A whole lot of guest judges in this one, like a little bandstand full of judges, most of whom never get to say anything except Ryan Braun, who nobody in Milwaukee likes anyway. Gets to say a lot. It's very strange. There were some high profile chefs in that lineup and didn't get a single line on camera. Whatever. So each chef goes 1-to-1, head to head on their sausage. So you got hot dogs, chorizo, Polish, Italians, and brats. I believe I have all 5, testing my Milwaukee knowledge, my Brewers loyalty. And so head-to-head competition, each chef does that one sausage. They go to head-to-head. The whole bandstand holds up a little flag, either blue or yellow. Brewers colors, very happy with that. And they vote on the winners. Interestingly, of the 5 competitions, the 3 that were total blowouts were elements of Mismanaged Sausage. Mismanaged Sausage is a great band name. The ones who either didn't do enough with the sausage or threw sausage on unceremoniously were the ones who lost, and lost poorly. And unfortunately, this is a great time to check in with our lone Wisconsin chef testant in the How's Dan Doing segment. Dan Jacobs of Dan and Esther at Milwaukee, Wisconsin. How's Dan doing? Unfortunately, uninspired, honestly. Like, okay, a potato pancake and some mustard and, stuff, that's cool. But maybe not at this point in the competition. That's kind of quickfire stuff, my guy. And when he's like, no, 12 slices of sausage to the other chefs who were helping him prepare, I was like, dude, you did not think about this nearly enough. This is a very unceremonious, literal dumping of sausage on the top of a dish. And you just did the seafood pancake the last week, and that's kind of a flat thing with a bunch of stuff dumped on top. That's not the way to go multiple weeks in a row. This is not, you don't have immunity anymore. You can't do something like that. And he got his ass beat. He lost big to Amanda in the final round. And that was the switch in the competition. That was when the win was decided. It was, in fact, 3-2. So, yeah, Dan did not do great and ultimately ended up at the bottom with Kevin, who did a pretty poor risotto. Risotto, a notorious dish in Top Chef lore. And I was really worried they were both going to go because they both kind of stunk. And the Savannah dish was okay. It was not nearly as bad as the other 2, but ultimately they send Kevin home. He gone. I'm not feeling great about Dan in that one, but hopefully he can rebound from this particular one. I want to go to Last Chance Kitchen real quick. Rosika's in there. We get Rosika one last shot up against Kevin, and you think it'd be a blowout. All of Rosika's fire is gone. It was 2 very underwhelming chefs. Whoever goes into that thing next is going to beat both of their pants off. It was not a particularly great Last Chance Kitchen. We've got odds to do, but I want to give us the peak Wisconsin moment, which came from actress Brittany Snow, who said about Kevin's risotto, it was a good macaroni and cheese dish. Very, very passive-aggressive Wisconsin energy. All right, our odds. Kevin's out, like I said, bottom of the odds. Laura, moving up a little bit, 20-1, but I still don't think she's got it. Savannah, 19-1. Amanda moving up a little bit, 15-1. Manny at 10-1, holding. Kalina up a little bit again, 8-1. Dan at 7-1, holding, but I don't know. We'll see how he rebounds from this one. Michelle holding at 5-1, and Danny and Sue holding at 4-1. Like I said, not a lot of movement, not a lot of space between these competitors. It is tight. And next week is Restaurant Wars. Going to be fun.